Hello, my name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this particular video, we're going to learn about determining the topic when you're reading. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. Now, we're going to focus on two things in this particular presentation. We're going to focus on first, okay, what is the topic? When you are reading, what is the topic? We're going to define that first, and then we're going to take a look at 4 different clues and how you can determine what the topic is. Now, to make this as simple as possible, the topic is that something, whatever concept or idea the author is trying to write about, that is the topic. So it could be sports, it could be chemistry, it could be physics, it could be real estate, whatever they're writing about is the topic. Now, we're not talking about their position on the topic, that's the main ideal, something for the future. But whatever they're writing about is normally going to be summarized in a phrase, and that phrase is the topic. Now, another way to look at the topic is the who or the what that the author is writing about. So it couldn't be real estate or banking. It could also be a person, whether it's a president, a former president, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, a famous world leader like Nelson Mandela. It really doesn't matter. Whatever the author is talking about, that is the topic. And it's very important to understand this because it's a foundation for reading comprehension. You can't understand unless you know what the topic is, basically. And the last bullet here, I'm kind of repeating myself. The topic is always a word or a phrase, or it can be a name. And it is never written as a sentence. So it's a phrase. It is not a sentence. When we start getting into sentences, when we're trying to talk about what we're reading about, that's moving more into main ideal and maybe even supporting details, which are videos for the future. So let's go ahead and look at some examples here. But here we're going to take a look at the 4 different clues. So the first clue is, there might be a heading of whatever particular section you're reading. Another way is to look for special print or bold or italics, whatever. Clue number 3 could be repeated words. And the last clue is look for the use of pronouns or other phrases or words to refer to the original topic. Now let's take a look at the first one. So this is find the heading. A lot of times when you're reading, especially with academic text, maybe not so much fiction or whatever, it's going to clearly define what the topic is by having a clear heading. So without even reading this particular paragraph, I already know what the topic is. Some place called Summer University. I don't even have to read it. But if I really wanted to, I could clearly see that Summer University is a school in Southeast Asia. It has about 300 students. The school offers several majors that focus mainly on humanitarian service. Summer University also has a diverse faculty with teachers from all over the world. So it's pretty clear. But the clue here, the secret is this guy right here at the top, this clear heading. This gives it away, and it doesn't really require any kind of comprehension skills. But from personal experience, I know students will often skip these major headings and they wonder why they get confused when they're reading. The headings are very, very important because they tell you what the paragraph or the section is going to be about. So you don't want to get into a habit of skipping those for the sake of reading faster. Because if you read faster but you don't understand, what's the point? Let's move to the next clue. So clue 2 is look for special print. Again, I don't even need to read this. Just the fact that this print right here is in a different color kind of gives me a clue as to what this particular paragraph is about. Again, we're focused on Summer University. And being in yellow print right there is kind of a clue. Again, academic text, particularly textbooks, they use these 2 techniques commonly. They structure their books like this to actually help you to understand what you're reading. But again, without sounding like a broken record and repeating myself, students ignore all of this for the sake of reading faster to try to get through as much content as possible. Whereas if you are aware of these different clues, you can probably maintain just about the same amount of speed, but you now have a better idea of what you're reading about. Let's go to the next one. So clue number 3 is where you have a repeated word, a word that keeps reappearing within the paragraph or the section, whatever. So in this one, I kind of already underlined the words, but you can clearly see that Summer University, it shows up here. It shows up here. it shows up here. Every sentence just about has this word or this phrase, Summer University. This is a clue that perhaps the topic of this paragraph is about Summer University. That is another clue. This one's a little bit more hidden, and so you have to kind of be aware of it while you're reading, whereas with the first two, they're kind of like little tips before you might start reading. But if you start seeing the same phrase or word reappearing over and over again, that is a hint that that might be the topic of that paragraph or section. And for our last one, this one's a little bit trickier. Word and pronoun use. So sometimes what an author will do, and this is very, very common for, people who are completely fluent in the language and who have a more, mature writing style. They will use the word one time and then they will refer to it through the use of pronouns or other phrases that are the same, that mean the same word. So let me see if I can make this clear for you. So in the first sentence, I have the topics said directly, Summer University. But in the second sentence, instead of saying Summer University, I say the school. After that, in the next paragraph right here, I use the phrase the institute. So you can see here, oh, I forgot one also, sorry. In the second sentence, I use the word it. So you can see the first time I refer to it directly, the second time indirectly with the word it, the third time with the school, and the fourth time with the word the institute. So each time I'm repeating the phrase, if you will, but I'm using other words, almost like synonyms, if you will, to refer to it indirectly. And again, this kind of helps to break up a monotonous writing style. So there are reasons that writers torture you by using these indirect phrases. It breaks up a monotonous writing style, because one critique you will get in your writing, which I know I'm kind of getting off topic a little bit here, is that if you keep using the same phrase over and over again, many teachers, English teachers or whatever, people who are reading your writing will complain and say, hey, find a different way to say this. They don't like the monotony. Advanced readers don't like the monotony. However, I have to be honest, for immature readers, a younger audience, it's better to keep repeating the same phrase, even if that is not an appealing style for advanced readers, because it's very easy to get lost. Because if you're reading this and maybe you're not as strong with reading, you're like, well, who is it? What is the school? What is the institute? You're getting lost and getting caught up in all these different synonyms, if you will, that are referring to Summer University. So that could be a challenge for people who have a weaker, a lower level of reading comprehension. However, for advanced readers, they like that breakup of the text like that, using different phrases to refer to the same thing. And so this is another clue that maybe you have to be a little bit more actively aware of what you're reading in order to pick this up to determine the topic. All right, so let's bring this to a close here. In this particular video, we are looking at how to identify the topic of a reading passage, a paragraph, or a section, whatever you would like to call it. And to make it as simple as possible, the topic is basically what the author is writing about. It could be a phrase, it could be a person, it could be an idea or a concept, whatever it is. But the topic is what is the central subject of the writing passage. And from understanding what the topic is, I then share with you 4 different clues or 4 different ways that you might be able to identify the topic of a reading passage, paragraph, paper, etc. The first one was finding the heading or the headings. The second one is looking at special print. Number 3 was looking for repeated words. And number 4 was looking at words that are swapped out for pronouns or synonyms, however you would like to define that. So again, it is very, very important that the first step in understanding what you're reading is to know what the author is talking about. Even if you don't understand everything, you have to know what the topic is. That's the first step. So again, I would like to thank you so much for watching. My name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you again for watching, and you take care.